Spider-Man has always had a special place in my heart. The fact that Peter suffers so much and still does the right thing was inspirational, especially for a younger me, because it made me realize that if Peter Parker can do it, so can I. And this show perfectly embodies that, with its latest 3 episodes, so let's talk about it. As always, there will be spoilers ahead, so come back after having watched it. Last week we ended with Lonnie earning the name Tombstone and Peter getting a new suit, and so this week we start off by seeing that Nico is mad at Peter for inviting Harry to hang out with them. But Peter hoped that they could all become good friends, so he plans for them to hang out again, but this time at his house, to which Nico and Harry both reluctantly agree. Whilst there, Peter gets someone to become Spider-Man to stop someone breaking into Oscorp Tower, and that person just so happens to be a really good lawyer, Matt Murdock, and the two fight it out in this epic scene. Matt then tells Peter that Norman might actually be hiding something, and we see this happening at the same time when Norman is at a charity event and tells Thunderbolt Ross that Spider-Man will help them catch these unregistered soups. But I'll give Norman credit here, he does lie about Peter's identity, but bro just sold Spider-Man to the Red Hole. It turns out that Norman has figured out that Doc Ock is the one selling the tech to the bad guys, and that they used to work together, but Octavius was just already kind of insane at that point. Meanwhile, at Peter's house, Nico and Harry try to become friends, but that ends with Harry telling her that Peter is Spider-Man, and she's mad that he lied to her. Matt Gargan also ends up getting his hands on a suit with a pointy tail, and truly becomes the Scorpion. Peter and Norman realize that Octavius is using gamma radiation to power the weapons, and that they can track him despite it risking many lives. Harry and Nico then try to reconcile, and this leads to Nico learning to drive from Harry, and this culminates in a race. And she realizes that Harry isn't so bad after all. Matt Gargan then goes to the HQ of the gang run by Big D and plans to attack them, but Spider-Man steps in but gets his ass whooped. It even ends with him getting stabbed and hurt. But this one isn't on Peter, it's Norman's fault, because he was too busy tracking Octavius. But I will get to this rant later. Peter is then hurt and Norman tells him to get stronger or they will have to stop working together. So then Peter Parker feels like he isn't good enough, not just as Spider-Man, but as Peter. Which isn't the first time we see something like this, but usually when he says this, people are there to guide him. But Norman instead just makes him feel worse. Aunt May does try and sort of motivate him, but she also does say that Peter needs someone like Ben to guide him, so he goes to Norman Osborn, who drops the big line we've all been waiting for.
With great power comes great respect.
Oh, that's not right. Yep, he's definitely bad, and that's for sure. Harry then shows Peter his new suit after his old one is damaged by the Scorpion, and it's finally red and blue. Lonnie also has his own arc, and he drops out of the football team, and he is lying to his parents and is pushing away the people he cares about. He breaks up with Pearl and stops coming into school, and now it seems as though he's almost enjoying being Tombstone. So most likely in the coming episodes we will see him become the Tombstone we all know from the comics. Doc Ock also gets busted by Ross and Iron Man. Now I must say Norman really needs to chill out. He's making Peter feel so bad, as if he isn't feeling bad enough himself already. Now people usually hate on the MCU Peter for having Tony there to guide him, but at least he didn't manipulate him into feeling even worse. But I mean, it is Norman Osborn, I couldn't have expected anything better, but I really do hope that they drop the main Uncle Ben line where I'm throwing my TV out of the window straight into Norman Osborn's face. The fights, as always, do look spectacular.
Say that again?
Like the fight with Daredevil was so good and a million times better than the one we saw in She-Hulk, and I do hope we get to see more of him later down the line. Plus his suit is so good, and it has me excited for Daredevil coming out next month. The other fight we see is Peter and Scorpion, and this one was so brutal, and it shows that this show won't shy away from almost killing Peter, and it does have me excited to what we will see in the other seasons. And it does seem as though the Scorpion will be back next week, but this time fighting Peter in his classic red and blue suit. Iron Man also does look like how he does in the comics, and it's just perfect. Episode 8 was such a good episode because it deals with one of the best Spider-Man arcs that have always proven to be great before. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 is perfect for the reason that throughout the movie Peter wants to live a normal life, but his good-hearted nature and responsibility doesn't let him, and so he always winds up going back to becoming Spider-Man. In Homecoming we see that even if Tony took his suit and the Vulture is his girl's dad, Peter will still step up and stop him from hurting people. And we see this exact same concept in this show once again, which is why Spider-Man is just such a great hero. And as I said at the start, this show is perfect because it embodies all the lessons that we should learn from Spider-Man, because despite Norman telling him that he needs to be stronger and earn the respect of the people, Peter is still trying to help and save people and feels guilty of losing to the Scorpion. Luckily Harry is there to help him with that. We also do see that Lonnie does want to help people, but he is going about doing it in a darker path that will lead him to eventually face off against Peter, and I'm really looking forward to it. But the amount of villain arcs that they've set up in this show from the start does show that this show was made for a multiple season run from the beginning, and it is taking its time, which I'm not annoyed at, but also kind of annoyed at, because it does mean that we have to wait for season 2 and who knows when that drops. But nevertheless, I am excited for the finale next week because I am curious as to who he will face off against. It's most likely the Scorpion, and so episode 6 and 7 both get an 8 out of 10 and episode 8 gets a 9 out of 10. Comment below your favorite moments and subscribe whilst you're there.
Deuces. Parker out.